Good morning, everybody. Jane Monreal here with you at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. And right away, we need to start with some breaking news here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Former Charlotte Hornet Terry Rozier, along with Chauncey Billups, former Portland Trailblazer coach, arrested this morning, according to authorities, arrested in connection with a federal gambling investigation, according to NBC News. Rozier, who joined the Heat, Miami Heat, that is, in 2024 from the Hornets, arrested this morning in Orlando. It is not immediately clear where Billups was arrested, but we do know the Trailblazers played in Portland last night. Now, what we do know is that the FBI and other officials, including a district attorney out of New York, will be holding and announcing charges later this morning. They will hold a press conference scheduled to be at 10 o'clock this morning. We will bring that to you as soon as we see it on our feeds coming into the WCNC Charlotte newsroom. But we do know that Terry Rozier Rozier performed well for the Charlotte Hornets, playing from 2019 to 2024, and more to come in this developing story that is happening, unfolding right now in the early hours out of Orlando. Again, a press conference from the FBI with federal gambling-related charges now on former Hornets player Terry Rozier. All right, again, we'll bring that to you as soon as we see it. It is set for 10 o'clock this morning. We do want to talk about the weather, and our Chris Mulcahy is pulling some double duty. He is out of the studio this morning, but he did file this earlier report here on the stream on WCNC Plus.
Welcome back, everyone. So I just want to start off and say I'm tracking Tropical Storm Melissa, but it will not be an impact here in the Carolinas. The only chance is that maybe it brings some higher waves to the Outer Banks and the Carolina coastline as it moves back out to sea. But Tropical Storm Melissa is going to become a major name the way things are trending. The worst thing that any one of these tropical systems can do is slow down and stall out. That's what happened with Harvey. There was a slow-moving storm with Florence. At one point, we also had Dorian turned completely stationary. This storm could turn stationary before it gets going. Right now, no new update for the 8 a.m. update. There's a new fresh set of data every 3 hours that comes from the National Hurricane Center, including every 6 hours a new cone update. The most recent one, we're going to have a better cone outlook come the 11 a.m. update. The biggest change that's happened over the last 24 hours is the intensity. This is now in a perfect scenario to rapidly intensify into a category 1, 2, 3, then 4 hurricanes. So another major hurricane on tap. But what really has me concerned is where it's stalling out. It's right over Jamaica. So you might say, oh, okay, the center's right here. This is going to be a massive system that is going to be not just a day, but days of torrential downpour, days of at least tropical storm force winds. So not a good situation for Jamaica and the Caribbean in general, because eventually this is going to bend back and move its way back out to sea. So here's a look at the potential wind field. Shows that we have tropical storm force winds arriving on Saturday night into Sunday morning right around Jamaica. And then it starts to intensify, most likely dancing out here for a couple of days before it works its way off towards the north and east. Check out our rainfall, and it really tells the tale. Saturday to Sunday, the amount of rain that we could see in Jamaica and parts of Hispaniola are anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rain. That is staggering. And then once you get to about Tuesday to Thursday, that's where it looks like we're going to have Melissa move back out through some of the islands north of Cuba and eventually back out to sea. So our model tracks are showing that it's going to take a while, middle of next week, eventually guiding it out of here. But at that point, the damage is done. Not a good situation. If you know anyone that's in the Caribbean, keep an eye on them. If you have a trip there, might be canceled just depending on what is going on. So big time update there. One last look at our 7-day forecast. Today, it's the top, 73 degrees with sunshine, getting cooler each day after that. 50s with rain Monday and Tuesday, and including Wednesday.
Turning to your national headlines, the president is still talking to and hoping for some kind of resolution between the presidents of Ukraine and Russia. He was meeting with them earlier this week. Alice Barr in Washington for NBC News with the latest.
This morning, stalemate on stalemate as President Trump announced a second planned summit with Russian President Putin aiming to end the war in Ukraine is off.
It didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get.
While new sanctions are on against Russia's two biggest oil companies, the Treasury Department citing Russia's, quote, lack of a serious commitment to a peace process.
I think that they'll certainly have an impact. They're massive sanctions.
Lawmakers in both parties have long pushed for tougher sanctions, Republicans applauding the president's move.
You have to compel Russia to engage in the peace process. They've shown they cannot be trusted.
Democrats still pressing for the bipartisan sanctions bill that goes much further.
Well, until Trump decides that he's going to back the bill here in Congress that puts real sanctions on Russia, and until he decides he's going to get another round of weapons to Ukraine, it's a good day every day for Vladimir Putin.
the urgency is clear in a deadly week for Ukraine. Here, firefighters carrying children from the scene after Ukrainian officials say Russian strikes hit a kindergarten. President Putin also overseeing a nuclear exercise as President Trump met with the NATO Secretary General, who promised increased pressure from Europe, including the latest in a string of sanctions packages, in a joint bid to choke off Russia's economy and force Putin to the table. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And we are also following the federal government shutdown, of course, now day 23. House Speaker Johnson has been speaking every morning around 10 o'clock, so we will also monitor that. But again, a press conference between the FBI and District Attorney out of New York regarding federal gambling-related charges and investigation into gambling charges, and former Charlotte Hornet Terry Rozier arrested this morning out of Orlando. We're going to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. See you in 2. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:10. So you may have heard that the White House is getting a new ballroom. They're in the East Wing, and this is what it looked like yesterday, where we saw that smoke on the left side of the White House, that part of the East Wing. President Trump said the part of the construction beginning around Monday. And I also had a conversation with a history preservation specialist talking about what this means and the history of the significance of the East Wing there and the ballroom and what it all means for preservationists. So a very insightful, interesting conversation. I'm going to play this for you now here that we had earlier this week on WCNC Plus in case you missed it. So moments ago, we just heard from President Trump talking about the ongoing construction at the White House. It is the East Wing's ballroom that's being demoed, and it's going to receive a new ballroom. So with that construction work being done, we are now joined this afternoon by a historic preservationist specialist, Joan Brierton, joining us right now on Live Impact News, who I must say, through all transparency, is the aunt of James, right? Yes. James Brierton, speaking in this role as a historic preservation, because because you know all about this or not this project, but certainly the East Wing there at the White House, don't you, Joan?
Correct, I do. I've worked in D.C. in historic preservation for over 30 years, so I'm extremely familiar with the city and the White House grounds and the various buildings that comprise the complex.
It's wonderful that we are so well connected to you through James. So a quick connection there and a good get for us this afternoon. All right, so tell us what purpose did the East Wing serve then?
Well, I'll just back up for a second because not everybody has had the opportunity to come visit our wonderful city and to see the White House. So the White House grounds and the pictures that you're seeing of the demolition only give you one shot. So we have the house at its center, the White House at the center, and then there are two connectors, and then we have the West Wing and the East Wing. And it's a symmetrical complex, and that's very intentional. It's very small scale, and that's very intentional. The West Wing houses the offices of the president. Many are familiar with the Oval Office in the West Wing, and the East Wing was constructed during the Roosevelt administration to house the offices of the First Lady and her staff.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So, I just lost ourselves picture. All right, so when was this built, Joan?
The East Wing, which is in the process of being demolished, there was a very small East Wing to the White House built around at the turn of the century between 1900 and 1910. But the East Wing that you see today is Roosevelt endeavor, Roosevelt initiative in, I believe, 1942. And as I mentioned, the East Wing was largely to house the offices of the First Lady and her staff. And of course, Eleanor Roosevelt was a very active and very engaged First Lady. So President Roosevelt, recognizing that the West Wing, the president had the West Wing for himself and his staff, the First Lady was in need of a like space, and hence the symmetry between the West Wing and the East Wing bordering the main White House.
So, Joan, I got to ask you then, you've been watching, you've heard about the project, obviously, and seeing and hearing about this unfolding. What is your reaction then, having all of this knowledge and knowing the history of such an iconic area of the White House, the demolition equipment arriving on scene? What is your reaction here? What did your gut tell you?
I've worked in historic preservation for a very long time, so I have seen modifications and adaptations to historic sites, even new construction adjacent to historic sites throughout the course of my career, and managed many of those projects. The difference here is that normally they would go through an extensive design and review regulatory process, and that's something that we have not seen here. So to suddenly see the demolition, of course, we've all heard this was coming, but usually, especially in DC, especially on the White House grounds, which is perhaps the most significant national historic landmark or site in the country, that work would be reviewed by the Commission of Fine Arts here in DC, the National Park Service. It would involve a public consultation component to ensure that what was happening there was not adverse or not in keeping with the original plan for the White House grounds, with the symmetry that I discussed and the symbolism, really the symbolism that the site remains small. This is a house for a person, for a president, but we are a government of the people. And so the site was really intentionally kept small and humble to reflect where the power resides in the United States, and that is with the people.
All right, and so have presidents in the past made changes of their own, and they went through a review process in the past?
Correct. And presidents of their own, whether it's tennis courts or swimming pools or movie theaters, pardon me, but also it's an old house and it's an old structure. The Truman administration actually fully gutted the interior of the White House, but if you research that endeavor, which was extensive, that work was still conducted within the confines of the envelope of the building, maintaining the scale and the form of the house. And of course, there had to be modern conveniences along the way. Mechanical upgrades, electrical upgrades, internet. So it's a very modern complex. And yes, they would go, even if it's a conversion of a basketball court or a tennis court, the proposals for changes to the White House grounds would have been reviewed out of respect for the significance of the site.
Understood. All right. So President Trump says he's creating this ballroom that's going to be multi-purpose, now being able to host press conferences. He just all right, everyone, if you would like to see the rest of that conversation, you could always go to our YouTube page and for more of Jones Brierton insight on the historical preservation and of the East Wing, and now the demo of it for a new ballroom. All right, turning the page here with Charlotte's historic Carolina Theater. If you haven't heard, it's been renovated since it's been shut down for, I think, 50 years now. So it's beautifully restored there in Uptown, and it is going to bring holiday cheer to Uptown this holiday season. Christmas at the Carolina series is this year, and Jared Meisner of the Carolina Theater is here. Jared, thanks for coming into the Live Impact studio.
Well, thank you for having me. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I did it myself. No, but yeah, we've been here since the beginning of the year. And so, yeah, like the Carolina Theater, also going through a little bit of a renovation. All right, let's talk about this first season of Christmas at the Carolina. Very exciting. What does this moment mean for Charlotteans?
Well, this was our first Christmas season since closing in 1978. So we wanted to do something big for Charlotte. Mm-hmm. You know, Charlotte never gave up on us, so we wanted to have a gift back to the city that always believed in us. So we're putting together 12 different events, a month-long activities. We have classic films, we have live Christmas music, and we have 2 world premiere productions.
Oh, fantastic. So 12 days of Christmas.
Uh-huh. It wasn't random.
There you go. There you go. All right. So I love the diverse lineup here. You got the films. What can audiences expect when they enter the theater if they haven't yet?
Oh, gosh. Well, beautiful. I always tell people that if you've seen pictures of the Carolina Theater, you really have to see it in person, because pictures just, even as beautiful as the pictures are, they don't do it justice. You have to see it in person.
For sure.
It's this theater that was built in 1927. So it's this grand, historic, beautiful theater right in the middle of Uptown. So we closed in 1978 and we reopened in March of this year. And so when you come for the holiday season this year to celebrate Christmas at the Carolina, you'll just be full of cheer. Rumors of having Santa Claus at some of our events, so it'll be a really good time.
A little sneak peek. Mm-hmm. Little kids will love that, right? Yeah, I mean, let's go back to the city supporting the theater, even though it's seen decades of vacancy. So to finally give back to the community and open it to everybody, that's got to be a great feeling.
It's one of my favorite things about working in the theater is having people come back and say, you know, I haven't been here since the 60s, or I met my wife here on my very first date in 1965. And now having people come back to celebrate with a new generation of folks is one of my favorite parts of my job, just to hear that and see that.
That's fantastic. In addition to the classic films, there's some new films, there's some music acts. How important was it to balance between music and film and some of the other visual arts?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a constant issue for us, is that we have everything here. People ask, you know, what do you have at the Carolina Theater? And the answer is everything. Mm. So it's always a constant battle for us to try to communicate that to people. So Christmas at the Carolina is a microcosm of that. We have live music, classic films, and world premiere productions. So we wanted to give Charlotte a little bit of everything. Off
the stream air here, we were talking about how this is a different model. It's not like season tickets to the conventional theater, right? So if people want to get tickets not only for Christmas at the Carolina, but for other productions there, how do you get involved? What do you look for?
Sure. So our website is thecarolina.com. And all of our public events are for sale on that website. And then also our box office is open 2 hours before any public ticketed event. So you could always just come in person.
Okay, fantastic. And then for families wanting to hook up with this series coming up this holiday season, same thing then about getting tickets and planning their visit?
Absolutely. So we have a special landing page for this as well, thecarolina.com/Christmas.
Okay, very good. And if this inaugural Christmas season works out, I mean, which I feel like it's going to, how can it not, right? So if it goes well, do you see this becoming a Charlotte tradition?
We hope so.
Absolutely.
We hope to become a Charlotte tradition once again, after having been closed for 47 years.
Oh my gosh. So you've seen it since now the reopening and, since really being alive, I'm sure, right? This is like you experienced the rebirth with the reopening of the theater. Have you had a favorite series so far?
Oh gosh, we did. Well, currently we're in the middle of the Carolina classic Halloween movie series right now. So we're showing all of the classics like Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon. And so that's just really fun. It's spooky, it's festive, and that's been really fun. People have been dressing up. We have a sold out showing of Rocky Horror this Saturday.
Of course.
And then we end with Halloween on Halloween night.
Love it.
So that's going to be really, really fun.
All right. Anything else people need to know for Christmas at the Carolina series?
There's something for everyone. We have world premiere productions, live music, and your favorite holiday films. We can't wait to see it at the theater.
All right, very good. Runs from November 22nd through the 23rd?
December 23rd.
December 23rd. For tickets and a full schedule, where do we need to go?
thecarolina.com.
See, we complete each other's sandwiches. Very good. Jared Meisner from the Carolina Theater. Thank you so much for coming in to the Live Impact Studio. Oh, very exciting. We're getting so excited for the Christmas holiday season, but it does take some planning. So make sure you go and check out thecarolina.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We have a special guest right now in health news. Despite significant advances in treatment, HIV remains a pressing public health concern with 31,000 new diagnoses in the U.S. each year. And today we are joined by Dr. Gene Van Wyck. He's the Chief Medical Officer at Vivi Healthcare. I hope I said that right, Doctor. But we want to discuss the current state of HIV prevention and the latest advancements to keep folks safe. Thanks for joining me on Live Impact News.
Good morning, Jane. Thank you very much.
Doctor, many people assume HIV is no longer a major health crisis. Paint a picture for us, if you will, where we actually stand today.
Yes, unfortunately that's true. Most people today believe that the HIV epidemic is a thing of the past, but that's certainly not true. You know, globally we have more than 40 million people living with HIV today. In the US, that number is 1.2 million, and you've already mentioned tens of thousands of new infections happening every year still. And also, importantly, 1 in 10 people with HIV actually do not know that they are infected. I know in Charlotte itself, there's more than 7,000 people living with HIV, nearly 300 new infections that happened a couple of years ago, and unfortunately that number also continues to go up.
Wow, incredible, and still so shocking, those numbers. Which communities are most impacted by HIV, and why do disparities exist?
Yeah. Yes, so, you know, if you are or have ever been sexually active, people who have intravenous drug use, those are groups that are at risk of HIV. So that's really just about every adult that we know. But some populations do have a higher risk. In the South, in the US, black people, people of Latinx ethnicity are at higher risk still of acquiring HIV.
And for folks who may not be familiar, there is actually a way to prevent HIV.
Yes. Yes, there is. It is called PrEP, or pre-exposure prophylaxis. So it's medication that can be used to prevent HIV in combination still with things like condoms, because it doesn't prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Now, the very important message to take away is that PrEP works when it's taken as prescribed. My company, ViiV Healthcare, we were the first company to develop a long-acting injectable PrEP treatment, and there's now also another option for long-acting PrEP available. Now, as with any medication, these injectable therapies can also have side effects, so it's just important to note the most common ones being injection site-related reactions, because they are given as injections. Apretude specifically is given as an injection once every 2 months. You might also have allergic reactions or liver problems or develop resistance to it if not taken correctly.
And if PrEP is so effective, why aren't people who could benefit actually taking it? Are there some barriers?
Yes, the barriers remain. You know, in the US, about 2.4 million people are eligible to take PrEP, as it's estimated, but only a fraction of that number actually do. So one of the options is daily oral therapy. Barriers that keep people from taking a daily tablet can be stigma. You know, they potentially want what's seen as an HIV medication to be visible in their houses, or they simply forget. You know, it's difficult to take tablets every single day, and that's why it's important to look at all the options. That includes barrier methods, the daily tablets, and now also the injectable therapies that are available. But the important thing is to speak with your healthcare professional to see what the different options are that might suit your lifestyle best.
Is there hope for the future of prevention? Or I should say, what is your hope for the future of HIV prevention?
Yes, my hope is that we get to a place where we have no new HIV infections, because then we can say that we are ending this epidemic. Pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP, is going to be a very important part of that, but also HIV treatment, successful treatment for those who are infected. So my main message, if there's nothing else to take away from this, is make sure you know your status, get tested, and act accordingly.
All right, and talk to your doctor. I mean, that's just part of your yearly, right? Your monthly or whatever your exam with your doctor, and have that conversation.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
Dr. G.
There's a lot of information out there.
Yes, tell us where can people go for more information.
Yes. Yes, there's a lot of resources available on HIV infection and prevention. From a ViiV perspective, there's a website called apretude.com where people can go to get more information on long-acting therapy, as well as the safety aspects of these products.
Dr. Jean Van Wyck, thank you so much for having the conversation with us this morning. HIV prevention, very important at that. How many people in Charlotte? You said 7,000, right?
More than 7,000, yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And we're going to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Just after 9:30 on a Thursday morning, almost to the weekend, everybody. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So tell you what, there's going to be the game plan here for the next half hour, because at the top of the hour, if you joined us here at 9 o'clock, Terry Rozier, former Charlotte Hornet, arrested this morning, along with Chauncey Billups, former Portland Trailblazer head coach, on federal gambling charges from the FBI. We are expecting a press conference out of New York where they will discuss more, and Director Kash Patel is reportedly going to be at this press conference. So we will go to that live at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. So we will wait for that, whether they start right at 10 o'clock or not. But, just stay with us here on Live Impact News. In the meantime, yesterday, local Republican leaders here in Charlotte held a press conference asking city officials for solutions when it comes to public safety. 61 now days ago, Irina Zarutska killed on the Charlotte light rail. And since then, public safety has been kind of top of mind, a lot of the conversation locally. So this time, GOP addressing this, what they're calling a public safety crisis. This press conference taking place yesterday at the Government Center. If you missed it, we're going to play most of this for you now as we wait that FBI press conference here at 10 o'clock. Previously recorded on WCNC Plus.
The reason we're here is we're marking the 60-day anniversary of the killing of Irina Zarutska here in Charlotte on our light rail, but not only marking that terrible incident in our city, but also to highlight the number of murders that have occurred in our city, and more specifically the murder of young African-American men in our city. We live at a time where everything is at our fingertips. We have access to so much information, and to see the number of folks that have shown up in our local elections where it matters the most is a little bit disheartening. But we have an opportunity this election cycle, to make a difference here in Mecklenburg County, here in the city of Charlotte. One of the things we want to point out, a report just came out the other day that a young man had been arrested over 100 times and was released again. Where's the accountability in that? Where's the responsibility of the government whose paramount and primary duty is the safety of its citizens? Where is our local government at in all of this? And it's too late to do this during an election cycle. To wait while you're up for re-election to decide to want to do something is a tad too late. And as a chairman of the 12th Congressional District, I also asked the question, how come Alma Adams is continuously silent about the violence that is plaguing her district? She gaslights the voters of this district talking about Donald Trump, but refuses to acknowledge that this place is unsafe and that her district is becoming a haven for criminals. With that, we're going to focus locally here, and I'd like to introduce City Councilman Edwin Peacock to give you a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Edwin Peacock, City Councilman, District 6. I want to thank everybody for coming today. This does mark the anniversary, the 60th day in which Irina Zaruzka was murdered. It's also a time of reflection and to look at the positives that have occurred to this very, very negative situation. And I think it can best be told in the story of what are the priorities of the City of Charlotte. Now, each year the City of Charlotte sets its focus areas, and its current focus areas under this last year for our city manager start with, first and foremost, a well-managed government. That's the first priority. The second priority is great neighborhoods. The third priority is safe communities. And then it's transportation and planning, and then economic and business development. But I think if there's anything that we've learned in this tragedy, that we know that public safety is and always will be our #1 priority. So I hope that Democrats and Republicans, particularly my colleagues on the City Council, can come together after this election to begin to address the very serious situations that we have seen develop since this murder. Abdul has pointed out, obviously, consecutive weekends of senseless murders here in uptown Charlotte and across this region, and this must stop. Everyone, and I mean state, local, and county, we all are responsible in this situation. And so it's incumbent upon elected officials in both our city council and our county commission and our local state delegation to begin to work together to address the gaps that we know exist. The gaps exist between law enforcement, prosecutors, and clearly sentencing. How do we fill those gaps? And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, public safety does not need to be partisan. We need to be focusing on fixing problems and finding solutions. Myself and my other candidates on this Republican ticket, if elected, hope to work with the majority of this council to do just that. Fix problems and find solutions. Thank you very much.
Next up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring up to give us a few words here is the chairman of the Mecklenburg County Republican Party, Kyle Kirby.
Thank you for being with us today. My name is Kyle Kirby. I'm the chairman of the Mecklenburg County Republican Party. Over this past weekend, we had 4 more needless deaths in Charlotte, North Carolina. 60 days ago, Charlotte lost Irina Zaruzka, an innocent woman whose life was stolen by senseless violence. And this past weekend, as I mentioned, we had 4 more individuals needlessly taken from us. Here today, we will hear from some of the families of Navia Carter and V. Hemingway, also 2 Charlotteans which were needlessly taken away from us. Like these youths, how many more have to die before this city council wakes up, before the mayor realizes what she is doing is not working? We have to hold the county and city leaders responsible for these deaths. Charlotte is clearly in a crisis. Crime is out of control, and families are afraid to walk the streets at night. Businesses are closing early, and police officers are demoralized and do not have the tools which they need in order to effectively police this city. Republicans are standing here today because we refuse to accept this reality. We believe that every person in every neighborhood deserves to live in a safe and peaceful city. We believe in strong law enforcement, real accountability, and the rule of law. We believe in backing our police and not blaming them when the true blame is at the city leadership levels. The choice before Charlotte could not be any clearer. Do we continue down the path, this dangerous path that we have chose, or do we elect new leadership, Republican leadership, which can bring and restore safety, sanity, and common sense to our city? Early voting is happening now. Don't wait and do not set this one out. I beg you for the youth of our city. Between now and Election Day, November 4th, you have the power to say enough is enough. Vote for leaders like Terry Donovan, Edwin Peacock, Krista Bakari, and James Bowers, who will work to protect the families and defend our community and make Charlotte safe again. It's time to take back this city. And on a personal note, I'll say, as a father of a 3-year-old child, it hurts me deeply every time I turn on the news since Irina Zaruska's death. And it seems like every single day we see additional needless deaths in this city. Charlotte, I beg you, I implore you, for your own good, for the future of our community, get out now and vote. Only you, the voters of the city of Charlotte, can save ourselves from this epidemic of crime and disparity. I would like to introduce now my good friend Anita Albright, who is going to say a few words in regards to this ongoing crisis in the city of Charlotte. Anita?
Thank you so much. Hey, how's everyone doing? I am Annette Albright, and I come to you today to speak to you about a very serious problem that is plaguing our community, and that is the homicides, the juvenile homicides of black males in this city, and now also merging over to taking the lives of black females. On October the 12th, we had Joel Kaliska, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name correctly, 19 years old. October the 13th, Dantravion Hobbs, 23 years old. October the 1st, Alexander Martinez, 16 years old. September the 21st, Jeremiah Gonzalez, 16 years old. September the 17th, Jace Edwards, 4 years old. August the 25th, Tyshawn Stokes, 16 years old. And the thing that is most disturbing about the homicide of Tyshawn Stokes is that 6 teens were arrested. The ages of those teens were 14 to 16 years old. So we have a problem with youth violence in this city. It's a problem that's often hushed away and people don't want to talk about. But it's having a big impact on our city and the lives of the juveniles in this city. What is the cause of gun violence? We often hear so many times, we need the root cause, we need the root cause. We know the root cause. The root cause of gun violence is solving conflicts with guns, lifestyle choices, and firearms improperly stored getting into the hands of our youth and even our children. Charlotte, Mecklenburg, the population, people often want to reflect back and say we're living in poverty. Everyone's living in poverty in Charlotte. That's not necessarily true, because the numbers and the work that we have done in this city, and we have people doing amazing work, they don't match. The group that's living in the highest poverty percentage-wise is Hispanics at 25%, followed by the black race at 14%, and the whites at 17%. So if poverty was the factor that's pushing gun violence death, then we should see the highest amount of deaths among Hispanics. But 90% of gun violence deaths in Charlotte are black offenders with black victims. So we have to dispel that myth. We have to stop looking at what happened 20 and 30 years ago and focus on what we need to do today. Some of the solutions are simple. Children need parents. Parents is the first line of defense for these children. Parents have to start back going to the basics. You have to parent your child. You need to know where they are, where they're supposed to be, where they're going, who they're with, and what they're doing. Get to know your child's friends, get to know their parents, exchange numbers, utilize technology to track and keep up with your children. A lot of the things that are pushing these incidents and conflicts that's taking the lives of children, permanent solutions to temporary problems, it's starting on the internet. Internet activity has to be monitored by parents. If I know that your child is in an apartment waving an AK-47 because I saw it on the internet, you should also know. The boys who murdered Tyshawn Stokes had assault rifles. How are you the parents of 14 and 16-year-olds and not know that they are carrying assault rifles? You got to check their backpacks, you got to check their rooms. We also need our elected officials to acknowledge that there is a problem and where specifically that problem is. We can't cure cancer if we're treating the symptoms of a cold. So we have to admit where the problem is, admit that it is a pandemic, and admit that it is affecting the quality of lifestyle for everyone in this city, specifically our youth. When our youth can't go to a football game without running for their lives and hearing gun violence. Students are afraid to go to school because they know that their classmate lured another classmate into a field and killed him. They are aware. So it's not a secret. It's causing the mental health disorders we are seeing. It's causing depression, anxiety. And like one of the judges said in a courtroom, the parents are failing. They're looking the other way. So how are the kids solving these issues? They're picking up their own guns. A judge asked a young 16-year-old, why do you have a gun? Why do you feel like you need a gun? And his response was, everyone has a gun, so I have to defend myself. That should be a huge wake-up call to the adults in this city and our elected leaders. And also, as Edwin Peacock said, we have several entities that are responsible for protecting this city, and they are not on the same page. That's Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department. They're doing a fantastic job. They're doing the best that they can. The District Attorney's Office is over here on the left. The judges are over here on the right. And then you have those in the middle who are more focused on how these crimes are going to affect the offender versus the victims, who are often left broken. They're in a financial state because now they had to bury a child. They have kids who are suffering PTSD and they don't have access to therapy because they buried a sibling or a father or a husband or a brother. So we have to get everyone on the same page in order to protect the mass. We can no longer look at a small group of people and say, we got to do what's best for them. We have to do what's best for the city of Charlotte. I would like to bring up at this time Claudia Hemingway. Claudia Hemingway's son, Donquavius Hemingway, was shot and killed in 2019 behind a minor conflict that someone picked up a gun and created a permanent solution. And not only did it affect two families are now torn. You have the family of the victim, but you also have the family of the perpetrator. Everybody lost in this situation. And I honestly feel that if some of these kids have options, if they're able to talk to their parents, if they're able to know, hey, this is temporary, it will pass, then these kids will make different choices. So at this point, I would like to bring up Claudia Hemingway.
Good morning. I would like to know, when are law-abiding citizens' lives be protected? When will our Declaration of Independence uphold its declarations that we have the right to life and enjoy the fruits of our labor? My labor was my 22-year-old son I no longer get to enjoy, as he was ambushed and gunned down at a residential pool by people he didn't know, nor did they know Donquavius. Who goes to a pool going to do a good deed and expect your life to be taken by murder? Lastly, why does a murderer mom get to see, speak, and write her murdering son when I no longer get any of that from my innocent, law-abiding, public servant son, Donquavius? When will lawmakers think about victims and realize this is a pain forever? My son was killed 2019. It feels like yesterday. And as Annette spoke, Donquavius had 4 more siblings. I have to watch my children grieve. You know, when they're sick, I used to take them to the doctor. They get wounded, I could put a Band-Aid over their wound. That now that they're grieving their younger brother, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing that I can do. And I hate that. When will humanity matter? When will humanity matter? When will human lives matter? When will they stop thinking about the killer and his family? Like I said, she gets to see her child. She gets to see her child. What's the purpose of have laws if everybody can just break them and get out?
That's right.
I worked hard to teach my children respect and to be good citizens. But there was another mother who didn't do the same. And that's not fair. That is not fair. There are children sitting in their cars being killed. There are children sleeping in their homes being killed. Public safety is what I'm talking to. And again, it's not an issue of poverty. Those boys that ambushed my son, they lived in 3-story homes, drove nice cars. I sat in court one time with the mother whose only son was murdered. The mother of the killer taught her sons how to wash the DNA from off their hands. The mother. The mother even had the nerve to ask the judge, could she have her gun back because it was registered? And that was the same gun that her 2 sons used to kill this innocent boy, to rob him and kill him. The mother. So these kids are not going back to a productive environment. And it's important for judges to know that. There's a 15-year-old who at the time he was a juvenile, he killed a young boy innocently. He did 3 years. He got out. He shot 4 more people again this past January and was arrested and back out again. But, you know, because he's a juvenile, nobody gets to know that they're living against a cold-blooded murderer. These mothers have to take accountability for their children. If they can get a driver's license, they can understand the laws of the land. And I say that because you have court advocates saying that juveniles' minds can't comprehend what they're doing. 15 and 16-year-olds, but yet they have permit, they have driver's license. So how can they understand a yield, a stop sign, or not to go? They can understand it's time to protect law-abiding citizens. When will we see results? When we elect officials who really care about humanity and not care about just holding a seat and be people pleasers.
That's right.
Amen. Yep. So it's time to vote for humanity, people that's going to stand up for humanity. Right now it's not happening. So that's when we're going to see our change. When we vote elected officials who really cares about humanity instead of being yes men. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, guys, thanks for having me back. Could you guys tell I was stalling? Nobody?
We will get back to some of that earlier recorded emotional testimony from families around the Charlotte area as local GOP leaders are asking for some solutions to deal with the public safety crisis. We're going to take a quick break here because we are awaiting a press conference top of the hour from the FBI when it comes to federal gambling related charges, and former Charlotte Hornet Terry Rozier, along with current Portland Trailblazers coach, former NBA player Chauncey Billups, arrested early this morning out of Orlando. We will get to that when we see it come in and get started as soon as possible. In the meantime, a quick 2-minute break on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC+. We are coming up on 10 o'clock right now, and we are awaiting a press conference out of New York City regarding the charges now filed or now pending for Chauncey Billups and right now Miami Heat's Terry Rozier, former Charlotte Hornet. Terry Rozier, both arrested in a federal gambling related investigation early this morning in Orlando. We know Terry Rozier played for the Charlotte Hornets from 2019 to 2024 before he joined the Heat, and he was arrested in Orlando, expected to appear in an Orlando federal court later on this afternoon. It's not immediately clear where Billups was arrested, but the Trailblazers did play in Portland last night. And along with those two, according to NBC News, Damon Jones, a former NBA player, was also arrested in the investigation. He played for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we are awaiting, again, a press conference that is happening out of New York City, where FBI Director Kash Patel is also expected to speak, and we'll hear from the...
We just got a statement from Rozier's attorney and teams. James, I just sent that to you in case you wanted to take a look at that.
All right, very good, very good. So Rozier's attorney, yes, thanks, Carlene. We've represented Terry Rozier for over a year now. A long time ago, we reached out to these prosecutors to tell them we should have an open line of communication. They characterized Terry as a subject, not a target. But at 6 a.m. this morning, they called to tell me FBI agents were trying to arrest him in a hotel. It is unfortunate that instead of allowing him to self-surrender, they opted for a photo op. They wanted the misplaced glory of embarrassing a professional athlete with a perp walk. That tells you a lot about the motivations in this case. They appear to be taking the word of spectacularly incredible sources rather than relying on actual evidence of wrongdoing. Terry was cleared by the NBA, and these prosecutors revived that non-case. Terry is not a gambler, but he is not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight. Again, a statement I'm just reading cold for you as I just received from Carlene from Terry Rozier's attorney, Jim Trusty. So we expect to hear more from Rozier's team, as well as hopefully Billups's team and the FBI. But as you can see, a lot of people walking across the podium for the Department of Justice out of New York City. As we await that press conference, we will be monitoring that for you here. It was scheduled for 10 o'clock, obviously running a touch late here, but feds will be holding a press conference sometime this hour. As soon as we see it get started, we will break into it and bring that to you here live on Live Impact News on WCNC+. In the meantime, I want to get back to yesterday's press conference, previously recorded for you, where GOP leaders are calling for Charlotte City officials for solutions when it comes to what they're calling a public safety crisis.
City where the priority should be public safety. It has to be public safety. Nothing else matters if citizens do not feel safe. The 4 agencies that are responsible for keeping us safe in Charlotte are the District Attorney's Office. By aggressively prosecuting cases, that's not happening at all. The focus is on how do we get them through the court system as quickly as possible. When you have someone that shoots into occupied property, that's attempted murder. But the shooting into an occupied property and put that person on probation. Where does that leave the victims? If you are shooting into occupied property, I'm not sure that probation is the right intervention for you. Probation was never intended for violent offenders. So if the District Attorney's Office start to reconsider how they are treating violent offenders and the safety of our victims, I think that would make a big difference. Also, the Sheriff's Department is responsible for only, because a lot of people think they're responsible for bail and bond, they're not. They're responsible for keeping arrested people safe until they have their day in court. That's it. Adult probation parole. That's the agency that's supervising these offenders when they're out in the community. And again, the court system. All of those 4 agencies, as far as I know, have never sat down to have a meeting to collaborate. And of course the MPD, even though they're all touching the exact same people. So those are some common sense solutions that could come from our elected officials. Our mayor could arrange that. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a meeting and we're going to find out what's going on with all these different agencies and why they're falling through the gaps. Most crimes in Charlotte, most homicides, District 1 has the most homicides in Charlotte, followed by District 2. Those representatives need to be out in the community, finding out what's going on. You cannot be an elected official every second and fourth Tuesday of the month behind the diocese. We also have with us today Jamie Carter. Her daughter was Nevaeh Carter. Nevaeh Carter, who lived in Monroe, who came to Charlotte and she did not leave Charlotte. On May the 15th, Nevaeh's life was cut short due to senseless gun violence. She was sitting in a car and someone pulled up and shot into that car, taking this wonderful, beautiful life, leaving a family and siblings devastated. This is not the reputation that we want in Charlotte. Drive-by shootings have increased tremendously. At one time, the drive-by shootings in Charlotte were gone. Now they're back up. We had a 3-year-old who was shot just this past Sunday. Folks, we have a gun violence problem in Charlotte, and we can't keep hiding behind it. This is something programs can't fix. This is something additional funding will not fix. We have to come together, the adults in the community, and address this issue. So at this time, I would like to bring up Nevaeh's mom, Jamie.
Hi, my name's Jamie Curitz and I'm Nevaeh Carter's mom. My daughter was a 17-year-old who was shot and killed on May 31st in a drive-by shooting. Still, it's going on 5 months. I have no justice on her case. I call CMPD, I leave voicemails. They tell me that they're investigating, details are confidential. I was just on the news a few weeks ago in regards to Crime Stoppers offering a $5,000 reward. But $5,000 is not enough to bring my daughter back. It's not any amount of money that is sufficient to bring my daughter, who was an innocent bystander, back. Not only that, the lives that they shattered, and just knowing that I'm a citizen of Charlotte and a lifelong resident, born and raised here in Charlotte, and the justice system has failed, knowing that they have a real-time crime center and the intersection that my daughter was killed at, North Graham Street and Craighead Road, has cameras. The right and left direction, no matter which way you're going, is a business district with plenty of surveillance. So going on 5 months now with no justice is just devastating to me. And also that someone so young's life has been taken away, and every time you turn on your TV to watch the weather, you got a breaking news alert that somebody else has been killed here in Charlotte. 8 people lost their life over the weekend. So it don't just start with my family. And you know what? When we turn on and we watch the news, sometimes we always look and say, you know, that'll never be me. But guess what? I was that mom that got that call, waking me up out of my sleep that my daughter was murdered. And still to this day, somebody is walking these streets, living their life every single day that killed my daughter. And I have to sleep at night knowing that there's someone out here who killed my daughter, and all of these parents who aren't receiving justice, but yet I go on the news and I see arrests have been made, and it's just everybody's being quiet, and someone needs to talk. These voices need to be heard. We need to come together as a community. And all of this crime, 9 times out of 10, is black on black crime, like killing our own people. Like, we have to come together as a community, and we have to stand for something or fall for nothing. But as long as I have breath in my body, I will fight to the day that I leave here for justice for Nevaeh.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we only have 2 speakers left. I'm going to call up to the podium now, candidate for Charlotte City Council, District 3, James Bowers. James.
Good morning, everyone. I've got a prepared speech, but I tell you, after hearing what I've heard, it seems not to be so important. You know, I'm gonna kind of close the speech up and just speak from the heart. You know, Charlotte has been my home for almost 40 years now, and some of the things that have happened are just too much to say. I'm just not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to close my eyes. I stepped up into this race to run for city council to prove 2 things. One is that my voice is being heard and that I can represent the people of District 3 with integrity, honesty, transparency, and with care. And when I hear of the tragic murders, Irina Zaruska in District 3 and Jace Edwards and these other children, it just breaks my heart. But it just doesn't stop there. Things have to start at the top. It has to start at leadership. Leadership has to have more than just the title and has to have action. That's the difference now. You've got a lot of people who have just had the title but no action. My plan is to be a person of action, to hear the people's cry, to hear their hurts.
We want to get to that press conference now out of New York City. An FBI and at the Department of Justice will conduct this press conference. You can see FBI Director Kash Patel as they gather some of their agents and their officers to the podium. This is in regards to federal gambling charges with Charlotte Hornet, former Hornet, Terry Rozier arrested. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
In addition, we have with us today FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Assistant Director in Charge Christopher Rea of the New York Field Office, Special Agent in Charge of the New York Field Office Leslie Bakshi's, New York Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security Ricky Patel, Newark Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security Michael McCarty, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny, and the Executive Director of the Waterfront Commission, Phoebe Sorrell. I'm now going to turn the podium over to FBI Director Kash Patel.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation. And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Casa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize to steal and swindle people from money, to include crypto fraud. This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where card games are being played. We are proud to stand here today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail. As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States Attorney to bring this case, because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this administration. Everyone will be held to account. So with that, I turn it over to United States Attorney Nosell. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patel. To be clear, we're announcing today indictments in two major cases, both involving fraud. One involves sports betting, and the other involves illegal gambling, very specifically rigged poker games. The first indictment involves 6 defendants who are alleged to have participated in one of the most brazen sports corruption schemes since online sports betting became widely legalized in the United States. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams. The second indictment involves 31 defendants alleged to have participated in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. These defendants, which include former professional athletes, used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families of La Cosa Nostra. While the cases are separate, there are 3 overlapping defendants charged in both cases: Damon Jones, Eric Ernest, and Shane Hennon. The indictments in these cases contain only allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that. First, I would like to talk about United States versus Ernest, the NBA basketball gambling case. The defendants in this case are Eric Ernest, Marvez Farley, Shane Hennon, De Niro Laster, Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach, and Terry Rozier, a current NBA player. Other co-conspirators were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jontay Porter. Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance. The bets were placed through online sports books and also in person at casinos. The defendants relied on a network of straw bettors to place the maximum amount of bets to increase their potential profits. Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars. The defendants then laundered their illegal winnings in various ways: peer-to-peer platforms, bank wires, and simple cash exchanges. The indictment details specific examples where the defendants profited from illegal gambling and illegal betting on various NBA games about the performance of players on, among other things, the Charlotte Hornets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Rangers. Each defendant in the NBA basketball gambling case has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus Aiello, the rigged poker game case. Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. The off-site operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table. What you see depicted on the screen right now is an example of the X-ray table that reveals the cards. Although they are face down on the table, they can be read because of the X-ray technology. The Mafia, specifically members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese organized crime families, had pre-existing control over non-rigged, illegal poker games around New York City. As a result, they also became involved in the rigged poker games, helping to organize the games and taking a cut of the proceedings, and working to enforce the collection of debts. The defendants laundered their proceeds, including through cash exchanges, the use of multiple shell companies, and through cryptocurrency transfers. As part of the scheme, some of the defendants and their co-conspirators also committed acts of violence, including the gunpoint robbery of a person in order to obtain a rigged shuffling machine, and extortions that were perpetrated against victims in order to ensure that they repaid their gambling debts. Defendants who participated in the rigged poker scheme are charged with wire fraud conspiracy. Other defendants have been charged with crimes including illegal gambling, money laundering, Hobbs Act robbery, and extortions. This case demonstrates our office's unrelenting commitment to fighting the scourge of organized crime in whatever form it takes. I'd like to conclude my remarks by thanking the incredible hard work of our law enforcement partners, including the FBI, Homeland Security, the NYPD, and the Waterfront Commission. I also want to thank the dedicated prosecutors who built these two cases and who are standing to my right. Benjamin Weintraub, David Bourbon, Caitlin Farrell, Michael Gibaldi, Irisa Chen, and Sean Sherman. They had the assistance of paralegal specialists Liam McNett, John Schneider, Marlene Bosler. Also deserving of our thanks because of their outstanding investigative work on the NBA case are FBI Special Agents Russell Lantier, Dominic Mariani, Amy Giaroso, Shane Wilkins, and Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison. On the rigged poker game scheme, outstanding work was performed by FBI Special Agents Thomas Cribbin, Jeff Boriola, Jonathan Corona, Alexander Silverman, Amy Campanaro, and Supervisory Special Agent Michael Malahi, as well as NYPD Task Officer James McCullough, and from Homeland Security, Supervisory Special Agent Charles Freund, and from the Waterfront Commission, Detective Paul Shimborski. Finally, I want to note that the investigations in both cases are ongoing, and we encourage anyone with information about either scheme to please contact the FBI. Now I would like to turn the podium over to Special Agent in charge of the New York Field Office, I should say the Assistant Director in charge of the New York Field Office of the FBI, Christopher Rea. Chris?
All right, thank you, Joe. As always, we appreciate the partnership here. Can't do any of this without you and your team, so thank you. Also want to publicly thank the director for coming down from D.C. The director's a very busy person, and for him to come down should tell you the importance of this historic case. I'm Christopher Rea, the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI New York Field Office. Today, as you've heard, our office conducted a massive nationwide takedown from 2 indictments of 34 defendants for their alleged involvement in 2 separate illegal poker and sports betting schemes where, as you heard, the odds were rigged in their favor. Among these defendants are 13 members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, to include capos and soldiers from these families. Additionally, as you heard, current and former NBA coaches and players are also implicated, to include Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier. 3 of the named defendants are charged for their alleged roles in both schemes. This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor, as alleged and as you just heard from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This alleged scheme wreaked havoc across the nation, exploiting the notoriety of some and the wallets of many to fund the Italian crime families here in New York. Let me be clear about this fact. The FBI has not and will never take their eye off the ball when it comes to Italian organized crime in this city, specifically the LCN and the 5 families here in New York. We are not going to permit any criminal enterprise, whether it be Italian organized crime, Asian organized crime, Eurasian organized crime. We're not going to permit any of those organized crimes, families, and organizations to operate in our city or our country, as evidenced by the 11 states that were also participating in this operation today. The FBI office here in New York remains committed to eradicating all unlawful revenue streams fueling this criminal activity. As with most cases we've worked, this is only the tip of the iceberg for the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Our LCN squad agents and analysts are continuing to work day and night with the Eastern District of New York to ensure members and associates of the 5 families cannot continue to wreak havoc in our communities. Today would not have been possible without the tireless efforts and dedication of the FBI New York Eurasian Organized Crime Task Force, which, as you heard, was led by Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison, and the Italian Organized Task Force, which was led by Supervisory Special Agent Mike Malahi. And coincidentally, Supervisory Special Agent Malahi is going out on a positive as he is retiring at the end of this month for 30 years of dedicated service to the FBI, and that deserves a hand. He's what we call a legend here at FBI New York. Additionally, obviously, we cannot do this alone without our partners. I want to extend my appreciation to Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in Charge, Ricky Patel. Of course, we do nothing in this city without the NYPD. New York City Police Department Commissioner Jesse Tisch, thank you, ma'am, for all your work and all your resources that you dedicated to this. And New York Waterfront Commissioner Phoebe Soriel for their agency's assistance and support throughout this lengthy and complex investigation. Our collective efforts ensured these subjects will face accountability, like the director said, for their alleged wrongdoings. Thank you, and I'll now turn it over to Special Agent in charge of HSI, Ricky Patel.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ricky Patel. I'm the Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in New York. This morning, hundreds of special agents and investigators with HSI, the FBI, the New York Waterfront Commission, and the NYPD descended upon the homes of individuals who for years have operated with the false sense of impunity, a false sense of incivility. In the early hours of today, across 9 states coast to coast, dozens of defendants were arrested and will face the consequences of their alleged crimes. This was their wake-up call. With the alleged involvement of 3 La Cosa Nostra crime families, 1 NBA head coach, a Hall of Famer, no less, and former NBA players, the years of investigative work that culminated with this morning's operation seem reminiscent of a Hollywood movie. But this wasn't luck, and this wasn't theatrics. This was an evidence-driven, relentless, and unified effort among law enforcement. Through what we have dubbed Operation Royal Flush, HSI New York, along with our task force personnel from the Waterfront Commission, first uncovered this scheme more than 4 years ago. Agents and investigators dedicated countless hours and sleepless nights in identifying the criminal network, dissecting communications and patterns, and following the money with precision. We built a case, piece by piece, and what we discovered was a sprawling criminal enterprise that utilized cutting-edge technology and various methods of deception to dupe unsuspecting gamblers into paying up so that these defendants could cash out. As alleged, this sophisticated conspiracy cheated victims out of at least $7 million and placed the public and the defendants alike at risk. This case involved global reach, financial depth, and the patience to dismantle complex financial criminal enterprises from the inside out. When criminal organizations attempt to launder profits through our country, HSI connects the dots and shuts it down. To anyone who thinks intimidation, fraud, or violence will shield their profits, understand this. If you are exploiting our communities, expect HSI and all of our law enforcement partners at your door. I would like to thank all our partners here today. Obviously, the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, the Waterfront Commission, the FBI, the NYPD, and the prosecutors that will carry this forward. Today's arrests are not an endpoint. They are the start of accountability. Thank you, and I now turn it over to Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
Good morning. Thank you to Director Patel, Assistant Director Rhea, and U.S. Attorney Nocella. What we're announcing today is not just another takedown. It's the result of more than 2 years of coordinated investigative work by the NYPD's Joint Organized Crime Task Force and the FBI. 2 cases that exposed criminal networks led by 34 individuals who believed the rules did not apply to them. They hid behind layers of complexity, behind money, and behind influence, believing those things would shield them from accountability. The first case, Operation Nothing But Bet, exposed a gambling ring built around professional basketball, where players and associates allegedly used inside information to manipulate prop bets on major sports betting platforms. They placed wagers on unders on players to score less, rebound less, assist less, using information that was not yet public. In some instances, players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out. One example occurred on March 23, 2023, in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash. As the NBA season tips off, his career is already benched, not for injury, but for integrity. As a result of this investigation, 6 defendants, including Rozier, are now facing conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud. In a second case, Operation Zen Diagram, investigators uncovered a long-running scheme in which members and associates of several well-known organized crime families rigged high-stakes poker games across the country. These operatives included capos and multiple soldiers from the Bonanno, Gambino, Lucchese, and Genovese crime families, bringing 4 of the 5 families together in a single indictment is extraordinarily rare. It reflects how deep and how far this investigation reached and the skill and the persistence it took to get here. That work uncovered a deliberate, technologically sophisticated operation designed to carry out their crimes. They used custom shuffling machines that could read the order of cards, barcoded decks, and hidden cameras built into tables and light fixtures. The organizers also enlisted well-known public figures, former and current NBA players and coaches, including Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, an NBA champion and a Hall of Famer, to make the games appear legitimate. Victims believed that they were sitting at a fair table. Instead, they were cheated out of millions. One victim in particular lost $1.8 million. In total, losses exceeded $7 million and continue to climb. And when people refused to pay, these defendants did what organized crime has always done. They used threats, they used intimidation, and they used violence. It's the same pattern that we have seen for decades. Traditional mob enforcement methods combined with new technology to expand the reach of their operations. Now, with the unsealing of today's indictment, 34 individuals are facing charges, including robbery, extortion, money laundering, wire fraud, bank fraud, and illegal gambling. I want to commend the outstanding work of our detectives from the Joint Organized Crime Task Force and their dedication to these cases, especially Captain Ruben Pagan, Sergeant Chris McGuire, Detective Alexander Creamer, Detective James McCullough, and of course our Chief of Detectives, Chief Kenny. As part of these investigations, our members recovered and reviewed thousands of hours of video, conducted extensive surveillance on illegal gambling locations across the city, and executed more than 24 search warrants on electronic records that revealed the true extent of this conspiracy. Once again, the work of our detectives, together with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, closed those gaps before they could widen further. The NYPD is proud to stand with each of you today, as these cases represent the kind of partnership that defines modern law enforcement agencies, sharing intelligence, coordinating resources, and moving as one team. Thank you.
If anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask, now is the time.
I had a question about the structure of the case. Is it the investigation into one case, did that lead into the discovery of the other? How you talk more about the link between the two?
I'm not at liberty to discuss either the background of the investigation itself or the investigation as it continues. So I'm afraid I can't really explain to you other than the fact that both cases have been unsealed today, and there was an overlap that has been discussed already with respect to certain of the defendants. Yes.
Jonte Porter claimed that he had a gambling addiction. Did Rozier or Billups or Damon Jones claim the same thing at all?
With respect to any allegations or defenses that have been made by any of the defendants, they will have their opportunity to present them in court. We're not here to air those at this time or to discuss them. Yes.
You said the investigation is still ongoing. There seems to be several players referenced in the indictments, some that may have potentially passed on information. Is there the possibility of future arrests of NBA players in connection to the sports gambling operation specifically?
As I said, I can't discuss ongoing investigations. The investigation is ongoing, which by definition means that there will be further evidence uncovered at a minimum, and there's always that possibility. But I can't comment any further with respect to that. Yes?
Thank you. Director Patel, you had said in your comments, we're going to take heat for this case. Why do you say that, and what efforts might you take to counter that?
It's not popular to go after some of the defendants that we went after today, but justice is served blindly. And how do we countermand that? Simple. The unsealing of these indictments today shows the force of the Department of Justice and our great Attorney General and the leadership that we have at the FBI and the team here to specifically mete out justice. And look, let's not, mince words. This is the insider trading saga for the NBA. That's what this is. That's why we are going to take heat. But as the evidence comes out, as the indictments are unsealed, you will see the extensive work these men and women put in, countless hours over years, and that's how we countermand it.
So the dates on these indictments that they were filed are October 9th and October 16th. Can you talk about the timing of moving in now? Why now?
We will not publicly discuss the timing of when we do takedowns. I will only say that we do takedowns in a coordinated fashion with our law enforcement partners and the U.S. Attorney at the appropriate time to make sure that we ensure the integrity of the investigation, as the United States Attorney said, an investigation that is very much ongoing.
Director Patel, you said insider trading for the NBA. What are the implications of this case for other sports leagues and for the legal gambling industry in general?
Simple. If you're participating in the legal gambling industry, you got nothing to worry about. If you're participating in illegal conduct, you got everything to worry about, and this case shows it.
Did the illegal conduct cross with the legal sports betting platforms in any capacity? And if so, is that the search warrants that the police commissioner just referenced?
I'm not sure I quite understand your question. You're asking if the illegal conduct...
If it crossed with, like, the sports betting industry or the online sports betting?
The sports books themselves are victims in this case. They themselves did not, as far as our investigation has concluded, they did not perpetrate anything unlawful.
Are you able to say which sports books or online outlets they use to make these bets?
I'm not going to respond to that at this time, but that information will be made public. Yes?
Can you identify the access point where these co-conspirators were able to recruit these, famous people to partake in the schemes?
When you say the access point...
they were able to recruit them?
I'm not sure which case you're referring to.
Both.
So well,
Rozier Rozier, how he was recruited, Damon Jones in the NBA scandal, and then Billups for the poker game.
We're not at liberty to say that at this time. That will be revealed in due course. Yes.
He was being.
What is your question, sir?
Hey, thanks for being here. You just said that the sports books themselves are the victims, at least in the indictment involving Terry Rozier and others.
They're among the victims.
Okay, but those companies make, as we all know, they make a crazy amount of money off of a lot of everyday Americans make bets and mostly lose them. Are you concerned with a jury potentially not being sympathetic in a case where the victims, as you say, are these multi-million or billion-dollar gambling companies?
Let me repeat that all of the defendants themselves are presumed innocent. We believe that at a trial, when they have the opportunity to present their defenses if they chose, because they're not required to, we will come forward with the evidence to demonstrate their guilt. Yes?
There's been, I'm sorry. Did the NBA cooperate with this investigation at all?
The answer to your question is yes, the NBA has cooperated with the investigation. Yes, sir.
There's been a reason to believe there's an associated college basketball element to this. Can you confirm that, or is there another investigation or part of this investigation that will affect college basketball?
The investigations that we announced today did not involve college basketball.
Last question.
Yes.
There was an emphasis on the Italian crime presence, organized crime in New York. Can you give us a sense of the strength and status of Italian organized crime in New York right now?
No, I'm sorry. That would be a question that goes beyond what we're here to discuss today, which is these two indictments. Thank you.
Everybody.
You've been watching a live press conference now between the FBI and Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney General there in New York regarding a historic arrest, a federal gambling scheme investigation unsealing two indictments involving NBA players, one including former Charlotte Hornet player Terry Rozier. And the NYPD commissioner there spoke of one alleged incident that happened in 23 regarding a prop bet made with a game, during a game where Rozier was playing. Two indictments involve online sports betting and prop bets stemming from NBA players, and the second indictment involving poker games, illegal poker games, and using some of these players as face cards to lure victims to these operations. Tens of millions of dollars lost in here. So, jaw-dropping news in the world of sports. The NBA, current Portland Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones, a former Cavalier player, as well as now former player Charlotte Hornet Terry Rozier, who is now with the Miami Heat. He was arrested this morning in Orlando, and he will be arraigned and make his appearance later this afternoon. We do know, we've learned from NBC News, that he will make his appearance and have his first hearing this afternoon in Orlando, where Coach Billups will also have his first out of Portland. We also heard from Rozier's team, his lawyer, reaching out to prosecutors and releasing a statement to NBC News, in part saying, at the time, this morning, at the time, they, meaning the prosecutors, characterized Terry as a subject, not a target. But at 6 a.m. this morning, they called to tell me FBI agents were trying to arrest him in a hotel. This is Jim Trusty, Rozier's lawyer. He called the incident unfortunate that prosecutors opted for a photo op instead of allowing Rozier to turn himself in. Trustee now noting that Rozier was cleared by the NBA and that prosecutors are now bringing back to life what he called a non-case. He said Terry is not a gambler, but he is not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight. The other layer to all of this, and really adding to the drama, like they said, like the HSI director said, this is the stuff that movies are made out of. 5 mafia families tied to these charges, 31 suspects arrested altogether, it sounds like, and who knows, more to come. A lot to unpack here, as they say. So all we can tell you right now, this is one of the most, if not most, brazen arrests and investigations involving professional athletes and sports gambling. A lot of charges as well, too many to list, but including wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering. Violence is also mentioned as one of the charges. And so we will be following this story, not only in the news department, but certainly in the sports department, as sports world is rocked and Charlotte Hornet fans are rocked by former player Terry Rozier, arrested now due to, or one of the folks arrested in this major gambling-related investigation. All right, let's go ahead and take a break here. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. And we're back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, again following breaking news in the world of sports and NBA particularly. We have current players, including former Charlotte Hornet Terry Rozier, arrested on federal gambling investigation in a major ring funding several mafia families out of New York. So much to follow there. We will continue to follow this throughout the day, certainly. In the meantime, you know, it's one of those things. Where do we go from here? Because our heads are spinning, Carlene. I mean,
our heads are swimming in it because there was so much information.
So much. There was a lot. There is a lot
on such a wide scale.
Yes, and it's shocking and sad.
It sounds like a movie.
And unbelievable,
Yes.
unbelievable, jaw-dropping details. So that press conference from the FBI is going to be on our YouTube channel if you want to see that from the beginning. In the meantime, let me, as much as I can, play the rest of yesterday's press conference with local GOP leaders addressing public safety issues following the death of Irina Zarutska that happened just over 2 months ago. All right?
Clear-mindedness. And they're willing to fight also for what is right, what's true, and what's just. I don't do this because I try to be the most eloquent or represent a particular statistic. I do it because I'm an American. I have a right. I even have a right to disagree with those in my own party if I choose to. Do you? They call that free will. I hope you have it also. And will look towards new leadership, new focus, and to give us an opportunity to say, listen, Charlotte needs a change. I'm James Bowers. I'm running for City Council in District 3. God bless District 3, God bless Charlotte, and God bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, certainly last but certainly not least, Terry Donovan, Republican candidate for mayor. Terry.
Thanks, Adol. Good morning, everybody. My name's Terry Donovan, and I am the Republican candidate for mayor. This race is no longer about Democrats versus Republicans. This race is about wrong versus right. This race is about good versus evil. It's about delusion versus common sense. You know, many of my best friends are Democrats, and guess what? They're voting for me. They're voting for change. The media has divided us so much that there's some people that are way far right and some that are way far left, but I personally believe that, like me, most of us live somewhere in between. And until we can all get on board and acknowledge that and stop with the divisive rhetoric, we're never going to take steps forward in Charlotte. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's time to reclaim our city. Our murder rate is up 200% compared to last year. We had 4 murders over the weekend. 4! This could be your kid. This could be your neighbor. This could be your sister. Enough is enough. It's time for everybody to stand up, get out, and vote for common sense. We cannot have lunatics roaming on our streets anymore, attacking people. We cannot have another Logan Federico story where she was executed by somebody who had been arrested 39 times. We can't have it. What are we doing? We all want the same things. We all want safe neighborhoods. We want to be able to walk down our streets and feel safe. And that doesn't matter what color your skin is, what your party affiliation is, or which neighborhood you live in.
That's right.
We all want the same things. So please, I urge every Charlottean, it is time to reclaim our city. Vote for change. The current city